see if the monkeys are doing exactly the same dumb things as humans do. One possibility is just kind of let the monkey financial system play out, see if they start calling us for bailouts in a few years. We were a little impatient, so we wanted to sort of speed things up a bit. So we said, let's actually give the monkeys the same kinds of problems that humans tend to get wrong in certain kinds of economic challenges or certain kinds of economic experiments. And so since the best way to see how people go wrong is to actually do it yourself, I'm going to give you guys a quick experiment to sort of watch your own financial intuitions in action. So imagine that right now I handed each and every one of you $1,000 US. So 10 crisp $100 bills. Take these, put it in your wallet, and spend a second thinking about what you're going to do with it, because it's yours now. You can buy whatever you want. Donate it, take it, so on. Sounds great, but you get one more choice to earn a little bit more money. And here's your choice. You can either be risky, in which case I'm going to flip one of these monkey tokens. If it comes up heads, you're going to get $1,000 more. If it comes up tails, you get nothing. So it's a chance to get more, but it's pretty risky. Your other option is a bit safe. You're just going to get some money for sure. I'm just going to give you $500. You can stick it in your wallet and use it immediately. So see what your intuition is here. Most people actually go with the play it safe option. Most people say, why should I be risky when I can get $1,500 for sure? This seems like a good bet. I'm going to go with that. You might say, that's not really irrational. People are a little risk averse, so what? Well, the so what comes when we start thinking about the same problem set up just a little bit differently. So now imagine that I give each and every one of you $2,000, 20 crisp $100 bills. Now you can buy double the stuff you were going to get before. Think about how you'd feel sticking it in your wallet. And now imagine that I have you make another choice, but this time it's a little bit worse. Now you're going to be deciding how you're going to lose money. But you're going to get the same choice. You can either take a risky loss, so I'll flip a coin. If it comes up heads, you're going to actually lose a lot. If it comes up tails, you lose nothing. You're fine, get to keep the whole thing. Or you could play it safe, which means you have to reach back into your wallet, give me 5 of those $100 bills for certain. And I'm seeing a lot of furrowed brows out there, so maybe you're having the same intuitions as the subjects that were actually tested in this, which is when presented with these options, people don't choose to play it safe. They actually tend to go a little risky. The reason this is irrational is that we've given people in both situations the same choice. It's a 50-50 shot of $1,000 or $2,000, or just $1,500 with certainty. But people's intuitions about how much risk to take varies depending on where they started with. So what's going on? Well, it turns out this seems to be the result of at least 2 biases that we have at the psychological level. One is that we have a really hard time thinking in absolute terms. You really have to do work to figure out that, well, one option's $1,000, $2,000, one is $1,500. Instead, we find it very easy to think in very relative terms, as options change from one time to another. So we think of things as, oh, I'm going to get more, or oh, I'm going to get less. This is all well and good, except that changes in different directions actually affect whether or not we think options are good or not. And this leads to the second bias, which economists have called loss aversion. The idea is that we really hate it when things go into the red. We really hate it when we have to lose out on some money. And this means that sometimes we'll actually switch our preferences to avoid this. What you saw in that last scenario is that subjects get risky because they want the small shot that there won't be any loss. That means when we're in a risk mindset, or when we're in a loss mindset, we actually become more risky, which can actually be really worrying. These kinds of things play out in lots of bad ways in humans. They're why stock investors hold on to losing stocks longer, because they're evaluating them in relative terms. They're why people in the housing market refuse to sell their house because they don't want to sell at a loss. The question we were interested in is whether the monkeys show the same biases. If we set up those same scenarios in our little monkey market, would they do the same thing as people? And so this is what we did. We gave the monkeys choices between guys who were safe, they did the same thing every time, or guys who were risky. They did things differently half the time. And then we gave them options that were bonuses, like you guys did in the first scenario, so they actually have a chance to get more, or cases where they were experiencing losses. They actually thought they were going to get more than they really got. And so this is what this looks like. We introduced the monkeys to 2 new monkey salesmen. The guy on the left and right both start with 1 piece of grape, so it looks pretty good, but they're going to give the monkeys bonuses. The guy on the left is a safe bonus. All the time he adds 1 to give the monkeys 2. The guy on the right is actually a risky bonus. Sometimes the monkeys get no bonus, so this is a bonus of 0. Sometimes the monkeys get 2 extra. For a big bonus, now they get 3. But this is the same choice you guys just faced. Do the monkeys actually want to play it safe and then go with the guy who's going to do the same thing on every trial? Or do they want to be risky and try to get a risky but big bonus, but risk the possibility of getting no bonus? People here played it safe. Turns out the monkeys play it safe too. Qualitatively and quantitatively, they choose exactly the same way as people when tested in the same thing. You might say, well, maybe the monkeys just don't like risk. Maybe we should see how they do with losses. And so we ran a second version of this. Now the monkeys meet two guys who aren't giving them bonuses. They're actually giving them less than they expect. So they look like they're starting out with a big amount. These are 3 grapes. The monkey's really psyched for this. But now they learn these guys are going to give them less than they expect. The guy on the left is a safe loss. Every single time, he's going to take one of these away and give the monkeys just 2. The guy on the right is the risky loss. Sometimes he gives no loss, so the monkeys are really psyched, but sometimes he actually gives a big loss, taking away 2 to give the monkeys only 1. And so what do the monkeys do? Again, same choice. They can play it safe for always getting 2 grapes every single time, or they can take a risky bet and choose between 1 and 3. The remarkable thing to us is that when you give monkeys this choice, they do the same irrational thing that people do. They actually become more risky depending on how the experimenter started. This is crazy because it suggests that the monkeys too are evaluating things in relative terms and actually treating losses differently than they treat gains. So what does all of this mean? Well, what we've shown is that, first of all, we can actually give the monkeys a financial currency, and they do very similar things with it. They do some of the smart things we do, some of the kind of not so nice things we do, like steal it and so on, but they also do some of the irrational things we do. They systematically get things wrong, and in the same ways that we do. This is the first take-home message of the talk, which is that if you saw the beginning of this and you thought, oh, I'm totally going to go home and hire a capuchin monkey financial advisor, they're way cuter than the one, don't do that. They're probably going to be just as dumb as the human one you already have. So, a little bad, sorry, a little bad for monkey investors, but of course, the reason you're laughing is bad for humans too, because we've answered the question we started out with. We wanted to know where these kinds of errors came from, and we started with the hope that maybe we can sort of tweak our financial institutions, tweak our technologies to make ourselves better. But what we've learned is that these biases might be a deeper part of us than that. In fact, they might be due to the very nature of our evolutionary history. Maybe it's not just humans at the right side of this chain that's duncy, maybe it's sort of duncy all the way back. And this, if we believe the capuchin monkey results, means that these duncy strategies might be 35 million years old. That's a long time for a strategy to potentially get changed around. Really, really old. What do we know about other old strategies like this? Well, one thing we know is that they tend to be really hard to overcome. Think of our evolutionary predilection for eating sweet things, fatty things like cheesecake. We can't just shut that off. We can just look at the dessert cart and say, no, that looks disgusting to me. We're just built differently. We're going to perceive it as a good thing to go after. My guess is that the same thing is going to be true when humans are perceiving different financial decisions. When you're watching your stocks plummet into the red, when you're watching your house price go down, you're not going to be able to see that in anything but old evolutionary terms. This means that the biases that lead investors to do badly, that lead to the foreclosure crisis, are going to be really hard to overcome. So that's the bad news. The question is there any good news? I'm supposed to be up here telling you the good news. Well, the good news, I think, is what I started with at the beginning of the talk, which is that humans are not only smart, we're really inspirationally smart to the rest of the animals in the biological kingdom. We're so good at overcoming our biological limitations. I flew over here in an airplane. I didn't have to try to flap my wings. I'm wearing contact lenses now so that I can see all of you. I don't have to rely on my own nearsightedness. We actually have all of these cases where we overcome our biological limitations through technology and other means seemingly pretty easily. But we have to recognize that we have those limitations. And here's the rub. It was Camus who once said that man is the only species who refuses to be what he really is. But the irony is that it might only be in recognizing our limitations that we can really actually overcome them. The hope is that you all will think about your limitations not necessarily as unovercomable, but to recognize them, accept them, and then use the world of design to actually figure them out. That might be the only way that we will really be able to achieve our own human potential and really be the noble species we hope to all be. Thank you.